Hello and welcome. It is the Private Technology Project. This channel aims at helping you use your technology in a privacy-oriented way, using the devices and tools to help make your daily life easier, but while not giving away your privacy and keeping it secure and yours alone, and allowing you as the person to choose what you want to do with your data, not allowing data companies and tech companies to take that data from under your nose, signing EULA agreements that you don't consent to. Here's my little thesis statement for privacy. Privacy is a fundamental human right. Mass data collection and surveillance capitalism are in direct conflict with privacy, which inhibit free societies. Inhibiting free societies leads to a fear of persecution. A fear of persecution greatly restricts freedom of expression, especially those with opposing moral or ethical frameworks. Societies that restrict freedom of expression limit informational access, which in turn discourages the pursuit of knowledge. Therefore, without privacy, we cannot have open discourse that makes truth accessible to all. Now, why does privacy matter? I believe that privacy really matters because it is a basic human right that all persons should have access to. The invasion of personal privacy disallows the freedom for individuals to explore and take cause for things that they wish to speak up about if they know are going to be persecuted for it. And let's see what the Fourth Amendment says in the Constitution of the United States. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched, and the persons or things to be seized. Emphasis is mine. So in other words, we should not be subject of wrongdoing unless there is evidence or probable cause to that effect. This completely goes in the face of the common statement of privacy critics. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. In another remark, Google's former CEO, Eric Schmidt, when asked about sharing information with Google as if it is a trusted friend, said, "If you have something that you don't want anyone to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place." This statement and others like it completely miss the point. Privacy protects us from the abuse of power, even if we have done nothing wrong while we are being watched. As everything we do online nowadays is being tracked, logged, mined, and exploited while we use it. Those websites you visit? Check. Those people you converse with? Check. Those seemingly innocuous questions you ask a search engine, but you're too afraid to ask a real person? Check. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that privacy goes along with many other areas of our life. But in the digital age, we willfully, maybe rather ignorantly, give away our privacy for curated and free services. We all value some form of privacy. For instance, when we go to the bathroom, take a shower, or write down our deep personal thoughts in a private journal. These things are private and they should stay that way. Now, one thing to note, there is a difference between security, privacy, and anonymity, but they are very closely related. To start off, security is on the bottom of our foundation. We can see that security is a necessary prerequisite to the other two. Privacy and anonymity, as is the case, it will be very hard to have privacy when you don't have any security. And that is like putting locks on your front door and back door, but never locking the back door at night, and letting someone waltz right in. It sort of defeats the purpose of having a lock on your door if you don't use it. In the same way, when we use tools to enhance our security, but completely disregard or unknowingly circumvent how they are meant to be used, we are simply letting someone walk right in the back door. A common example of security is browsing the web using HTTPS. This secures all web traffic through TLS encryption in transit. A third party certificate authority, generates a certificate for a given domain name that a website is hosted on. The certificate basically says, this website domain you are visiting, say google.com, is talking to the correct server that is hosting the website. That is to say, Google server hosted at a specific IP address. It is verifying that this server you are connected to owns that domain name. This prevents domain spoofing attacks. A fun thing you can do is actually click on the little lock icon in your browser and see who the certificate authority is. Privacy is a means of keeping the keys in your hands. In a sense, we use secure software that does not have any major CVSSs, Common Vulnerability Scoring System, or CVEs, that allows us to control what we share and what to make public or private. A common example of this is with end-to-end encryption. This allows you and another person to communicate effectively while not allowing anyone else to see the contents of the messages that you are sending. Now, anonymity is probably the hardest one to achieve. Anonymity is allowing you to use software or internet services without having any persistent identifier. This can be done using something like the Tor browser that shuffles your IP address by hopping through multiple relay servers, and these change periodically. And something akin to this is pseudonymity. This allows you to have a persistent identifier that isn't tied to your real identity. An example of this is using a username that you're identified by online, such as the Gamer256. These three concepts of security, privacy, and anonymity are not a hard-cut boundary, but are closely related to each other. When we figure out how we want to live our digital life and how private we want to be, we use the term called threat modeling. What is threat modeling? Threat modeling is the assessment of the biggest threats to your security and privacy goals. It is determining what will make you the most at risk and what convenience you are willing to give up to stay private, secure, and anonymous. Now, the very basic idea of what composes of privacy and how it affects our digital life online, let us step into the data and see how our data is used in the digital age of today. Now, mass data collection and surveillance capitalism. What is it? A big thing I want to emphasize is the insane amount of data that is collected on us every single day by tech giants and is profited on. This has led to the biggest economy in the history of the world, and it's more profitable than we could have ever thought possible. These tech giants are using mass surveillance so they may earn and make a lot of money by watching what people do online. But another less emphasized point is that government agencies also watch what people do online and can use that information to persecute or strip away the rights of individuals. After all, human rights are there to protect the individual from the overpowering authoritarian state that limits what those in society are able to do. This correlates with the thesis of this video, as talked about in the beginning of the video. Mass surveillance is invasive to privacy, as we stated before, but the data gained from the mass surveillance is kept forever. These big tech companies log every single thing you have done and will do on their platform, even if you don't create an account. They build profiles on you and use that profile to sell to advertisement agencies or data brokers. But they also use that unique identifier they have attached to your online identity to filter and target advertisements and information. Yes, some of the most notable offenders are Facebook and Google. Facebook has been known to curate, as they call it, their fancy word for target, information on your feed that will be the most engaging and what they think you want to see. This is effectively controlling what we see and engage with. This can often be along ethical, religious, and political boundaries, as these are often the most controversial. Since data collection is forever, as with anything that is posted online and public on the internet, once it is out there, it is out of our control to take it back or remove it, at least not in any easy manner. The important thing to note, however, is that state powers often change, and what is considered legal or to a lesser extent acceptable in a society changes as society changes. Having what you did saved forever could be used as a targeted attack to prosecute you in the future if governing authorities don't agree, especially in authoritarian regimes. This data is also collected by government agencies and is also sold to government agencies. Now, data brokers are the ones that collect, buy, and sell mass amounts of data. I'm talking mass amounts. These are the guys who work in the shadows and use as much information as they possibly can to make it useful for any types of businesses that want it. These companies use third-party technologies, also called cookies, that track where you came from, where you're visiting from, what other sites you're visiting currently, your browser, operating system, and more. These malicious third-party cookies are called tracking cookies. Wow, great name. And I would recommend anyone using a modern browser, if it is not off already, to completely turn off all third-party cookies. These can sometimes be called cross-site cookies. Now, these data brokers don't only get their information from cookies. They buy and sell data to other data brokers and buy data from other companies. In 2022, a lawsuit was brought against Kochava for tracking hundreds of millions of people and sold sensitive data about their location. I have a link in the description linking to this article. And here's a quote from the FTC article. It states, Kochava's data can reveal people's visits to reproductive health clinics, places of worship, homeless and domestic violence shelters, and addiction recovery facilities. The FTC alleges that by selling data tracking people, Kochava is enabling others to identify individuals and exposing them to threats of stigma, stalking, discrimination, job loss, and even physical violence. And that's not all. This data is available for anyone to buy. Yes, even the state to look at, dissect, and link to other data that may have been collected. And some of these buyers are indeed big tech companies. They keep data, sell it, and buy it from data brokers to build more complex profiles and link information to unique identifiers. They specialize in finding patterns and links of data that they can trace back to specific individuals' behaviors, sexual orientation, mental health, doctor visits, all trace back to a specific individual. Now that is what you call power. The more data a company has, the more control they can have. Whether you have anything to hide or not, I would like to finish my point on data collection with this quote from Thomas Jefferson. Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press, and that cannot be limited without being lost. Thankfully, there are good organizations out there that stand for just that, allowing information to be accessible and open to all, allowing for conducive discourse on complex topics, while allowing people to stay anonymous, private, and secure online. Now, what can we do about it? It is very easy to get overwhelmed with everything we have put online and everything that we need to do to stay private with our online activities. But first, let us ask, why should we care to keep our data private? The biggest motivation for me is to stand for those who are under oppression from authoritarian states. People who do not have freedom to express, freedom to learn, and freedom to help change the trajectory of their society. We can group together and allow people to rise up and make a change for how they want to use their technology. A good book about this topic is the classic 1984 by George Orwell. It is a dystopian novel that explores the idea of totalitarian states and their effect on human freedoms. We can also allow more free states to set an example for how we can implement effective protection of basic human rights and how they can be respected and held. To stand against total government control and allow people to have a voice in how decisions are to be made. Another part of the process is learning how to use tools that respect our privacy and are secure to use from the get-go. It is important to note that these tools should not be focused on making money and selling data. They should be focused on providing privacy-respecting services. FOSS, or free and open source software, is a really good start, though not definitive in being exactly what we are after in all cases. Sometimes a tool for the job will not be FOSS or FLOSS, depending on what acronym you want to use. And in some cases, we will have to get by with proprietary or closed source software. The goal is to eventually move off of the closed source software and adopt open source software alternatives that are as good or better than the current software. These can be seen as a placeholder until a better alternative arrives or is surpassed by a superior option. Now that we have some better idea of why privacy is important and why we should maybe take our online presence a little more seriously than we have before, let us look at a good way to start our privacy journey. Now, I really want to emphasize that it takes a lot of time to get where we want to go. And at least for most people, there's a lot of information out there, and we have become greatly accustomed to using online services and software for free and signing up for accounts wherever the most convenient. Our online presence more or less revolves around social groups and self-interest. And online security is a very complex topic and is widely considered to be a moving target. In the same way, we can see privacy as a moving target that changes over time. Now, the privacy journey, and for lack of a better phrase, is a road to be traveled not by yourself, but with others. We will never fully arrive and be perfectly private. As like we said before, this target is always moving and will never be static. I like the analogy of a journey with privacy. In Lord of the Rings, spoilers if you haven't seen it, Frodo would have never gotten the ring to Mount Doom, which is the journey, if it wasn't for his friends. That's to say the Fellowship of the Ring, to support him in his quest and long and treacherous journey. In the same way, pursuing a private presence online is easier done with people who have shared values and interests. But as humans, we make mistakes and mess up. Friends are there to help us get back up and try again, and continue to move the needle forward, inch by inch. And when we have a why for why we are motivated to do something that can continue us along the path, your why will probably be different than mine, but it serves as a useful reminder for why we started in the first place. Now, before I go, here are some very helpful resources to get you started on your privacy journey. Some books to look into: The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff, The Art of Invisibility by Kevin Mitnick, Data and Goliath by Bruce Schneier, Extreme Privacy by Michael Basil, and some podcasts that I highly recommend and help you get started on your privacy security journey. The Opt Out Podcast by Seth for Privacy, Security Now by Steve Gibson and Leo Laporte. This podcast has been going on for over 20 years, which is incredible. Some websites: privacyguides.org and mulvad.net, which is also a great VPN. Some tools you should look into using: Linux for your desktop, laptop, servers, Graphene OS or Lineage OS for your mobile operating system, Firefox or Brave for your browser, and Monero or Zcash as a cryptocurrency. There are many more, and these are a few just to look into and get you started. If you want any videos on these, leave a comment below and I will get to you and I'll try to make a video on them if you want to learn more about them. Alright, today we successfully learned the why privacy matters in today's ever-changing digital landscape. We learned about different attack vectors and how our information is constantly exploited online for profit and control. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the video. I am greatly encouraged by your interest in learning about privacy and how it affects more than just us, but those around us as well. If you made it this far, leave a lock emoji down in the comments. This lets me know that you watched the whole video and you're a real trooper. If you found this information helpful and this video useful, give this video a thumbs up so it can reach more people. If you want to continue to learn how to use the technology we use every day in a privacy-respecting manner, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to be notified when I post more content. And I thank you for being on the journey of privacy with me. I am looking forward to creating new and exciting content to help inform people to use their technology privately. I will see you in the next video, and remember, there's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.